Hey guys, Abby K here. I wanted to do a video to recap our school year, and I thought the best way to do that would be to just walk you through my mom binder. If you want to see how I set this up, I'll link the video below. So let's get started. I am a homeschool mom to 4 girls. They are, well, we just finished up pre-K, 2nd, 3rd, and 6th grade. So let me show you how our year went. You can see the resources that we used this year changed quite a bit. That's okay. This was a starting point, and then we adapt as we go. We did get through my goals for the year. Our state does not require reporting hours or days, but just for my own peace of mind, I shoot for 18 weeks before we break for Christmas and 18 weeks before we break for summer. Now, those don't have to be full 5-day weeks. There will be plenty of these weeks where we took a day or two off or whatever, but you know what? It counts. Life is school. Field trip and activity log. We did a lot of fun stuff this year, which felt so good. It was good to get out again. You can see the books. This is what I had typed up at the beginning of the year, and then look what we actually read. Barely anything from this list, which is just fine. We loved it and enjoyed the books we read. Okay, so we will start with 6th grade. Okay, she had quite a few resources this year, and so I'll walk you through that. The first one, The Bible Made Easy for Kids. We really enjoyed this. We didn't quite make it through the whole thing. In fact, we got just a little bit over halfway, and that's fine. We will start again where we left off next year. Next up, spelling. We use Spelling Power. This works really well for her learning style, so we just keep going with that. This comes as quite a pretty big resource. There we go, if I can talk. So I just take out the actual spelling lists and rebind it so it's a little easier to use. For math, she did Math UC Zeta. She didn't quite finish it up, and that's okay. So here's my little philosophy in finishing resources. My goals, at least so far, now that we're just up to the beginning of middle school, is exposure. Exposure to these new concepts and ideas, making connections, and learning new things. So our goal is not finishing a resource. I'll say that again. Our goal is not finishing a resource. Our goal is to go at the child's pace and learn the information that they are interested in and at the speed that works for them. So these last few lessons in Math UC that she didn't get to, they will be repeated. That information she'll get in another way some other time. It's okay. We didn't even do the final exams. Again, I'm with her. I know whether or not she mastered the material. There's my little soapbox for you. On to writing, Daily 6 Trait Writing. This is not what we started the year with, and that's okay. We had to switch a couple weeks in when what I had originally picked just wasn't working for her learning style. So we picked this one up, and it worked much better. She enjoyed it. Because we didn't start it quite at the beginning of the year, she didn't really finish it again. That's okay. I haven't quite decided yet. Either we'll start where we left off, finish this up, and then move into the 7th grade book next year, or we'll just let it go and start fresh with the 7th grade book. We'll see how I feel at the end of the summer. For science, let's see here, get to the right page. For science, it was Medical Investigation 101, a very interesting book. We finished most of the book. We got about here and we started to get to a lot of these last sections were reviewing concepts or going deeper into individual body systems. So we just kind of picked the last few that we were interested in and then moved on to some other things we had. But she really did enjoy this, kind of inspired by her desire to be possibly a doctor. We'll see. She, at 12. We'll see how it goes. So here's another resource that we did along those lines. We spent this year for science being more interest-led, so that's why we've got quite a few resources, because we're following her interest. So the history of medicine, she really enjoyed this one. This very much follows her learning style because it's history, and that really speaks to her. She enjoys learning on how things came to be. Then we moved on. We tried the Genesis of Germs. This was a resource I had picked up at the beginning of the year, but it wasn't quite as engaging, didn't capture her, and because, again, we're doing interest-led, we moved on. So we tried The World of Physics by the same author as The History of Medicine. This one, again, fit very well with her learning style. She learned quite a bit about physics, but we didn't do the whole book because we were kind of switching around with a couple other resources. This is one that I had pulled out from a few years ago, I think 4th grade, and we went through it again, at least the sections that she was interested in. So I am perfectly fine with repeating resources. I feel like as they get older, another pass through, they get a little deeper, they understand and comprehend a little bit more. So I have no problem pulling out previously used resources and giving them another go if they're interested in. And she was. So that's kind of how her science and history went, was pulling out resources that she was interested in. We would sit down in the afternoons after or while her sisters were napping and pull out 1 or 2 of these each day, cycling through them and read and just have some discussions. And that she really enjoyed that. It was kind of big kid time. For history, we did Uncle Sam and You from Knotgrass. We loved part 1. By the time we got to part 2, we didn't quite finish the whole thing. I'll tell you, I've heard this before said about the Uncle Sam and You program, that it feels like they had more information than they could fit in one book, but not quite enough information to fill 2 whole books, 2 whole semesters. So the second book feels a little stretched out, like they were trying to fill the space for a whole second book. So by the time we got here, we were losing a little interest. So we just picked a few of the lessons that she was interested in. We didn't even go in this exact order. We skipped around and did the ones that she wanted, and I was fine with that. Again, we're going for exposure, not finishing a resource. So I picked this one up for her. Again, this went with our afternoon sit down, pull out a book or 2, read about something she was interested in time. This came out of, in her grammar, she learned the history of the apostrophe. And it kind of intrigued her. She actually pulled me over and had me listen to the lesson again so that I could hear it. And I, as a homeschool mom, anytime that your child is interested in something, we've got to study it. So I found this book on the history of the English language, and it's really well written. It's kind of funny, it's engaging, and it's also from a Christian history perspective. So we really liked this. We only got a few lessons in, or a few chapters in, because it was towards the end of the year. So we'll save this and do some more next year too. So that finishes up the 6th grade work. We'll move on to 3rd grade. Now, my 3rd grader is a struggling reader. We are in the process of having her evaluated for dyslexia to see if that's what's going on. So she needed to do some more phonics work this year. So I picked up this book hoping that she wouldn't feel too bad because the cover said K to 3. So since she was in 3rd grade, I was hoping to sneak that in. She wasn't thrilled about this book, but she did it, and I think it really helped her to practice again more of those phonics skills that she needs. She didn't finish the whole thing, and that again is just fine. Here, I'll show you how far we got. So same thing as like not finishing Olivia's math. She went at the pace that worked for her. She got exposure to the information that she needed, and whatever's here, I'm sure, I am fully confident, will come in some other way. So it's okay that we didn't finish it. Next was Matthew C. Gamma. She did great with this one, made it all the way through. We didn't do the end exam. Like I said earlier, I'm with her. I know whether she mastered the material or not. You can see here's like the February slump, and then the hurry up and wanting the school year to be over. So this second half here didn't go quite as smoothly as the first half, but that's okay. We would just go back and practice do a few more practice worksheets or whatever we needed, but she did great with that. And there goes my stack of books. Sorry about that. Okay, the next resource we used for the third grader was Mazda's literature. We loved this one. She did so good. Because she is a struggling reader, I read these aloud to her. I read the stories aloud to her, and she really enjoyed that. It's surprising, and it was wonderful to learn about her, is that although she might struggle with reading herself, her reading comprehension and vocabulary is actually very strong. So I think she appreciated and enjoyed being able to use that. She would listen to the story and then answer the questions, or she'd be able to match the vocabulary with the definitions, and it gave her a bit of confidence and enjoyment of these stories, which is wonderful. Next up for her was Living Art Lessons. Not our favorite resource, but it did its job. So they went through and learned about different art techniques and artist studies, and we called that science and history. Perfectly acceptable for that age group. This was the third grader, and the second grader also joined in on this. That didn't quite take us through the whole school year. We went pretty fast through it. So towards the later part of the school year, we picked up, let's see, where did I put it? It's hard to see through the camera. There it is. We picked up the marine biology science unit from The Good and the Beautiful. Enjoyed it, had fun learning about ocean animals. What kid doesn't love learning about the ocean? Again, because we picked this up towards the end of the school year, we didn't quite finish it through. By the time we got about halfway through, we were just picking the units that we were interested in and to finish up the school year. And that's just fine. So Isabel, my second grader, did a lot of work with the third grader. I paired those two up. They're very close, so they like to work together. So she didn't have in fact, I think the only resource that she had that was just hers was her math, which was Paula Gia's Exploring Creation with Mathematics. We loved this one. This worked so well for her. And she finished up the whole book. It was very exciting. She got to do a pizza party at the end, which I think was her favorite part. Actually, she chose, instead of the recipe was to make a pizza, your own pizza dough and then toppings, she chose to do a cookie pizza instead, which was a lot of fun. So that was hers. I'll show you a little bit. Here is, I printed up a checklist. You've seen that a few times, where sometimes I will use the checklist that comes with the resource or the table of contents from the resource. But then sometimes, like this one, this is pretty spread out, so it was just easier for me to type one up, a little bit easier to keep track of that way. This printed schedule from the actual math book is what I will use for record keeping, because it shows the topics that were covered, which I will discuss in my next video. It's a perfect segue. So in my next video, I'll go through and show you how I store and keep the resources so that I am not drowning in 4 kids worth of work every year. This is what I have started with, which is my little one who just did a whole bunch of preschool and kindergarten workbooks. So I will show you how I turn all those big, huge workbooks that she did into something much more manageable. So stay tuned for that one. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough of our school year, and I will see you next time. Bye.